Blackburn. We are jet black this afternoon in Six Music Studio. Yeah. Or one of us is. So let's welcome the now man who continues to push the musical boundaries in a career spanning nearly 5 decades. I'm sure he'll thank me for reminding you. He massively plays down his contribution to the advent of synths in the late 70s, early 80s, but his debut album spawned classic records still being sampled today. He has a new album of a heavier sound, I've heard him say, but we're going to hear some in a minute. Collaborating with Battles, and he'll be out on the road with Ultravox's John Fox. We're calling Motor later this year. Gary Numan, welcome to Six Music.
Thank you very much.
Very nice to have you. How's it going? You're in amongst a bit of a PR week, aren't you? So
yeah, well, we've got these shows coming up.
Absolutely.
We've got some Australian shows as well. So I'm at home, I'm doing phoners with Australia and New Zealand every day in the mornings.
Ahead of those gigs. Oh, crikey, yeah, of course.
There's quite a lot going on. Plus, studio in the daytime and children.
And yeah. Mixing the family in amongst that somewhere. And getting the new album finished. We've had a lot.
Two, actually. There's one called Dead Sun Rising. Which the Fall is from. That's coming out in June or July, I think.
Fantastic.
It's quite soon. That's like a mini album, really.
Yeah.
Then the main album proper is called Splinter. And that'll be later in the year or possibly early next year because I'm a bit late with that one.
Yes, we hear tell. OK, well, we'll come on to The Fall in just a second. But I've been collaborating with relative newcomers on the block, Battles. I played their new single yesterday. Obviously, we had the album from them a few years ago. So you're on the song called My Machines. How did the hookup with them come about?
I'm not sure how it initially came about, but I first met them in America on the last tour we did there in November, I think, October, November. And I'd they played me some of this stuff before that, so I got to know what it was all about and thought it was really different, really unusual.
Amazing,
so it was very cool people as well. And then after that, they sent the track over, and I actually got it wrong. I put it in my machine at half speed by mistake. And didn't notice. So I did this whole vocal thing for them, sent it off to them at completely the wrong speed. Yeah. So tad embarrassing start, to say the least. And then
because Mirrored is quite fast. I mean, their stuff is fairly pacey, isn't it?
Oh yeah, not the one I did.
No, hopefully that is out there somewhere, and we'll get a hold of it because that sounds brilliant. But
anyway, so I did it properly eventually, and got it to them. Actually, got it to them while they were actually mastering the album in the studio. With hours to spare, so it was a bit tight towards the end.
But it's amazing how you can do that these days. I mean, you don't even necessarily have to be in the same place as the band. I mean, the landscape's changed.
All emailed across as a file and downloaded their end and put in, and it's cool, isn't it?
And it's coming out. Well, it is coming. My Machines is coming. We couldn't get hold of it today. We did try, but that's coming out in June on the Battles album. Right. Now, guest yesterday on the show was Bill Bailey, and Dandelion Mind. Yeah. His latest tour includes a reworking of Cars. Yeah. Now, have you heard it?
I have. Yeah. Somebody bought me the DVD for Christmas actually.
Oh, did they?
So I got to see it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we hear what you think of it, Bill came in to Six Music. I think it was last year to talk about the tour, and played this on the Breakfast Show on Six. Yeah. Complete with giggling from our very own Sean Keaveney, Gary Numan sort of chuckling along to it. What do you think?
It was great, actually. I'm a fan anyway.
Yeah.
So I got the DVD just because I like him and think he's really funny. So when it came on, I was really proud, actually.
I mean, he is a particularly genius musician in terms of all his instruments, but I mean, doing that with car horns.
Yeah.
Fairly close.
But the rest of it sounded really powerful. It's, the version he did was really, really good. Then there's a car horn bit, which is funny, and then it goes, it sounds great again.
Yeah, it's big.
It's great. I'm very proud, actually.
Excellent. Maybe reworked into a Gary Numan show soon. Now, the Foos have been reworking your material as well. I just played their new single, but Down in the Park's going to be on their compilation album as well. So,
really?
Yeah. That's coming out for Record Store Day in April. So we'll have to try and get you that to have a listen to as well. Yeah, Foo Fighters playing it as well. We'll come on to some of the older stuff, but what's on the Gary Numan MP3 player at the moment? I mean, if you've had any time to listen to anything else in amongst all the stuff?
At the moment, I went to see a band managed by a friend of mine called Pink Fairies. No, Smoke Fairies. Sorry,
yes,
Pink Fairies. Smoke Fairies. Which isn't the sort of thing I would normally go for.
No, they're on Jack White's label. I mean, they are. We've played them on the show.
Yeah, and that was really good. So that's what I'm listening to at the moment. It's all very folky and
yeah, absolutely.
It really is not what I would normally be listening to.
No, absolutely, and not particularly like the material you're producing at the moment.
No, but it was brilliant. I went to the gig having never really heard anything before that, and just liked everything that they did, and it was brilliantly done as well.
Really ethereal, and they are fantastic live.
Yeah, it was
so
great.
we featured them on the show. So let's hear some of the new material now. Explain. I mean, this has been a little time in the making, but is it very different? You think what we're going to get from Dead Sun Rising in comparison to Jagged from a few years ago?
Yeah, it's a bit different, but Splinter would be very different. You know, Splinter is as far away from Dead Sun Rising as that is from Jagged before it. Dead Sun Rising actually started out as a load of stuff that I hadn't released before, that just sat on the shelf and decided to finish it. But then it became a bit more than that. And then I went off it. I actually didn't like it for about a year. Didn't like any of it.
So that's why we haven't had it. Okay.
Yeah, so it just dragged on. And now I got back into about half of it, but it's still about 5 or 6 songs that I'm just back on the shelf now.
And eventually we might get them. Okay, so new Gary Numan. This will be from the mini album coming out later this year. Let's hear The Fall now from Gary, and we'll have more from him after this. So that is The Fall from Gary Numan's Dead Sun Rising, which will be coming out, we think, summertime.
I think it's June, but it might be July, but I think it's June.
It's this ever-moving date from you. Okay.
It's all finished now. It's all
yeah,
finished, so,
and that very different to what we're going to get from Splinter then?
Yeah.
I mean, you've said heavy sound for Splinter.
Yeah, Splinter's much heavier than this, so will we, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I heard you say that at an interview from Sonosphere Festival, which obviously incorporates that kind of sound from last year, which you enjoyed. So, I mean, you were fairly blown away in the 70s by Ultravox, the Ultravox led by John Fox, and you're going out on the road with him. We're
doing a show on the Troxy, April 2nd in London. That's the first time we've ever been on stage together.
Now, I've heard you talk about that before, because obviously you've been a fan of the music for years, and he was a big influence.
When I got into electronic music, I didn't realise that other people were doing it, because it was... I just didn't realise.
Well, you were in the studio with your...
So I went out and tried to find as much as possible, and I found an Ultravox album called Systems of Romance, I think. Never heard of them before, but the cover was cool, and it was electronic, apparently. Some man in the shop said. Then I found out that was their third album, and there's me thinking I'm at the cutting edge or something.
Breaking ground.
Yeah, making my first one.
Yeah.
And they'd already been doing it for ages, so I get a lot of credit for this whole electronic thing, a bit one of the pioneers and all that, but they were 3 albums in when I started, led by John Fox. So he was way ahead of me, so he deserves far more credit than he's ever got. I think it's coming now, actually. But
there are. I mean, he's been working with guys from left field and stuff now, and I think and getting a slightly higher profile than perhaps he's had in the past.
Yeah.
But
which is good, because he deserves it. And so for me to be doing a gig with him, for me, it's actually quite special to me.
So you've got the Troxy gig. That's the 2nd of April. That's you and John and Mirrors and Motor in the Troxy in London, and then the Manchester date the day before as well.
Yeah, and that's with Recoil, which is Alan Wilder, which is Depeche Mode. So when I had my
another band close
mid-career slump,
hiatus, I think is what we call it.
I hated it, I know. But the Alan Wilder album, the Depeche Mode album that Alan Wilder had such a big hand in, was Songs of Faith and Devotion, and it was that album that completely changed the way I went about things, and I think has been the main force, if you like, behind the second half of my career, which has been a lot better. So
some great gigs coming up for you in terms of
really
personally,
special.
Absolutely.
Both of those,
so I mean, how do you feel about reliving your debut material and kind of playing with bands from sort of back in the day for you? Because I've heard you say before you're reluctant about being too nostalgic.
Yeah, I've actually avoided it like the plague up until quite recently. I really don't like it at all. It feels like a huge step backwards. But over the last couple of years, I did some work with Trent Reznor, and he talked about the Pleasure Principle album as being important and so on. And it just made me rethink a little bit. And I had a really hard attitude about it. I would do very few songs live. No, not at all. And just a simple conversation one day, and it made me realise it was a bit like sticking my 2 fingers up at my own fans. And I thought, well, that's not good, but I don't want to do a lot of old stuff. So I started doing, from time to time, I would play an old album, just do songs from an old album. And so it started like that, and then that meant I was free to do what I wanted with my normal
mix it up.
So it's kind of gone on like that, and Pleasure Principle was going to be that. It's going to be one show, actually, in Manchester. And it just grew. Then the record company got behind it and did a special album. Then the Americans wanted it, and that started as 2 shows to become more. And it's just gone on and on. But when we finish in New Zealand in May, that's me done with nostalgia for some time. Got a lot of new stuff to get on with.
Well, you've got the 2 albums coming out this year for the very start of it, and more stuff going. Gary, we wish you well with it all.
Thank you.
Good luck with the gigs coming up in the UK and the Australian ones, and of course those albums.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.